Today on Locked On Phoenix Suns, the Suns have looked pretty good without Bradley Beal in the lineup. What's up with that? Is that a pattern? Are we imagining it? Should the Suns do something about it? Let's go.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Suns. I'm Brendon, Kleen, a staff writer at Awful Announcing and credentialed Suns media member. Thank you for making Locked On Suns your first listen to kick off your Wednesday. Don't forget Locked On Suns, free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So click that follow or subscribe button and do what thousands of other Suns fans have already done. Become an everydayer and get locked on to the Phoenix Suns right here each and every day. Today's episode brought to you by Game Time, the best place to buy any ticket, anytime. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Joining me as always from the wonderful West Valley, my fellow Suns credentialed media member. How are we feeling on this Wednesday? Ben Garcia.
I'm doing good. No one better than good old Darvin Ham today. The Lakers have officially scapegoated Darvin Ham. He was not the problem, Brendon. I think it's fair to say that now. I just think it was a fun segue to ask you how much of that game you watched. How much of the NBA Cup did you watch?
Wait a second. Darvin Ham, what does he have to do with anything?
Brendon, how
Bucks
dare
Thunder?
you? Yeah. The only coach, the only person to be 12-0 in the NBA Cup, undefeated.
I see the connection. I remember what people were saying. Yeah. He's they should put the banner up in his home. Forget crypto. But yeah, also update. I'm going to keep saying today, the people have spoken. They told me they liked it. So we're back. All right.
I didn't check out the comment section yesterday. Good for them. Wait, I'm sorry. How much of the NBA Cup did you watch? Just really quickly?
I watched the game.
You watched the whole game? Okay.
I watched all three games.
I did not watch all three. I watched two of the three. Hawks and Bucks, and then the one tonight. But this is pretty much all I thought. Your guy SGA, though, having issues. Can't close the deal in big spots. That's something I worry about.
I don't know how I got saddled with him being my guy, but I'll take it. That's fine. All right, so we're going to talk about the trends here with Booker and Durant only. Big two versus big three, kind of big picture breakdown. And then maybe finally have the conversation that Ben was ready to have like a year ago as to what Beal's ideal role in all of this is. We'll close out the show with our favorite non-Jimmy Butler trade targets, have a little bit of a fun conversation around things out. But I found this really interesting, Ben. You know I'm big on the on-off numbers and the how efficient teams play when different players are in there and the lineup data and all that sort of stuff. Two interesting things when you look at Booker and Durant on the court together. One is this season. One is they've actually been quite a bit worse with those two guys on the court together so far this season compared to last season on the offensive end. They were like historically good last season when those two guys played together. It's merely like elite this season. Still great, but not holy crap. The other interesting part is when we're talking about big two versus big three, last year the Suns were much worse with only Booker and Durant. So minutes where the two of them were on the court and Beal was not, they scored worse. This year, they're better with only Booker and Durant on and Beal off. So the numbers back up what we are all watching, including these two games over the weekend where Beal suddenly gets the right knee soreness, Ben. This team is statistically has been better with its big two on the court more than even when it has all three guys healthy and playing together.
Yeah, no, that is something that I think is just obvious for the Suns team so far. But I think the biggest thing that is different from last year to this year with the Bradley Beal side of things is, they were better last year with Beal on the court. That would make sense because this team wasn't even close to being deep. They were 4 guys deep last year if you want to include Grayson Allen into that mix. I mean, I guess you could. He was pretty good last year. But it all goes back to what I believe I was saying on last show, Brendon, which was Tyus Jones being the third scorer on this team, but a very, very distant third where you have 2 all-time scoring talents in between Booker and Kevin Durant. When you have Tyus Jones there, he can be asked to do just a little bit. And if he doesn't get anything, no one cares. No one is asked a question at the end of the game. Well, Tyus didn't reach his average for the night. How are we going to do that? I don't even think Tyus cares. His thing is take care of the basketball, get the ball to where it needs to go, and also be a good spot-up shooter. He's done that for this team so far this season. And I think that's the difference, where last year they kind of needed Beal as that necessity. But this year, it's completely different. They don't need him. Honestly, Brent, if you told me Beal was out for the season, like if you just said, hey, he's done. We can't trade him. The only thing you could do is trading other things to get better.
And by the way, he didn't practice today, really, from what it sounds like. He basically got weight work and conditioning stuff in, and he was getting shots up post-game. But Bud's comment was his practice was in the training room, which means he didn't practice. That's short for he didn't practice. So I'm not saying he's going to be out for the season, but I'm just saying.
Did you see people's pictures of Bradley Beal's knee and saying, I don't see the soreness? Now, granted, we're not doctors. That's nonsense. But it was kind of funny to where even fans are starting to speculate even further how much of an issue this is. Do you think he plays tomorrow? They're going to ruin, really
if the Butler trade happens, they're going to make me hate it because they're going to take a victory lap that this was actually done on December 12th. Even if it's like February 3rd, they'll be like, see? They were holding them out.
It's the same people. It's the same people that go to your local Just Sports or Sports Authority or whatever it is. I don't know if that's in business, but they see the jerseys on sale and they post it on social media like, oh my goodness, they know something. Just so you guys know, I've worked in the sports retail space for a decade. That never means anything. I can promise you it means absolutely nothing.
You mean James
nothing.
Jones isn't calling the GM of a Dick's Sporting Goods?
You know what? Listen, you can go to your local Just Sports right now, and last year's El Valle jerseys are $50. Beal, Booker, and Katie. I can assure you, only one of those guys is on the chopping block. They don't know anything more than that. Just so I could put that away too.
So I didn't mean to cut you off, but I think you're absolutely right. That the reason being, I'd love to see those numbers. Not that it's really easy to find them, but like, what was the on-off Big 2 versus Big 3? After they basically got healthy and after Royce O'Neal joined the team? Because I would think it probably looked a little different for the same reason you're saying, where this year they're getting still Grayson at a high level, but now also Tyus and Royce for a full season. That's definitely affecting these numbers. So look, I don't think you're wrong to say that it's clear to anybody watching that they've been very successful even when Beal's not been out there. We just said they won these past 2 games pretty decisively without him. 2 things that I think that they do lose without Beal, okay? And I think, 2 things that they're worse at when the Big 2 is out there. 2 weaknesses that I think this star tandem has. Turnovers and free throw rate. And I think, and not even just free throw rate, but like interior rim pressure scoring. And
getting to the basket.
That one is where Beal, I think, does help. Okay? Sam Cooper of the Timeline Podcast put a super crazy thread out there on Twitter that I wanted to shout out, where he said that the Suns are the only team in the NBA averaging more attempts in the paint outside the restricted area, so long paint shots, than attempts in the restricted area, meaning they're basically taking more floaters than layups and dunks. And I attribute that partially, they don't have an athletic center. Look, right? Like Nurk misses bunnies and layups all the time. Plumlee's not that guy. Oso isn't in the lineup consistently, and he's not much of a scoring threat. He likes that floater too. The other part of it is Booker and Durant are not players who do that. Beal is. And Beal at his best last season provided that for this team. And I still hold out hope that he can, if he ever gets healthy, if it ever kind of clicks with this group, that's the element that you bring him in to fill, and I still think it's a needed element for this team.
Okay. Part of that question is, how does that fit? Because it really hasn't fit so far, man. And there's only one way that I'm kind of alluding to that you can do that. Because the issue as well is the ball, even with Budenholzer's offense, and Beal is there. And I this is not an indictment on Beal. I know people love to just say the guy sucks. It's not the case. But the ball just tends to stick in the hands of one of those three guys. And it feels like after a couple of seconds, they're almost pressured to throw the ball somewhere else. It just feels like Beal maybe might not fit in that starting group like maybe everyone thought he could. But also, that's a conversation for Beal. That's something he has to accept. This Suns team has a way to win, and I think that is one being the small ball lineup that you pointed out, and two, staggering their offensive weaponry a little bit better than they've had to do so far this season when guys are healthy. So that's where I would stand on it.
Well, let's get to it, because I think that when you talk about what this team's identity is going to be, you can have Booker and Durant playing how they play and also Beal playing how he plays, but maybe the answer is that it's a little bit less all at once. So let's explore that next. First, today's show brought to you by the Game Time app, the best place to buy any ticket. Game Time is all about togetherness this holiday season, meaning when you bring people together at live events, the experience is that much better, and it can be a pretty perfect gift as well. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for those live events even easier. Maybe you want to go see the Nutcracker. Everybody loves the Nutcracker. Maybe you want to catch a football game around this time of year. Maybe you are going to surprise somebody and fly them to the Peach Bowl to watch Arizona State play on New Year's Day. All these options are very, very good ones, and all of them are that much easier, that much simpler, and that much cheaper at Game Time. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time and their Game Time Picks feature. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA when you do to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create account, redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Today's show also brought to you by Rocket Money. Rocket Money is the place to remind you and save you money on all the subscriptions you forgot you were still paying for. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel those unwanted subscriptions, monitor your spending, and lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it is those pesky subscriptions, your own spending habits and budgeting, or even the goals you want to hit in the new year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users. It has saved them over $500 million total, which is up to $740 per year. I love to support people in the sports media space. I love to give content creators my money. Sometimes that becomes a recurring charge, and you forget about it. That is the one that I always find myself canceling. Maybe for you it's a streaming service or it is a delivery service or something like that. Either way, Rocket Money solves it for you. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions. Reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. All right, Ben, let's keep it rolling. One quick plug for the Locked On Suns daily newsletter. Did you see, I forwarded you an email with this number, where we are? It's okay if you didn't click. They didn't send it to you. And I gave them a strongly worded email, literally, to tell them to include you next time.
I saw the email. I did not click on the link. I did not.
Okay. Well,
I'm so sorry.
I'll blame the wonderful people at our company.
Dude,
for not
I'm
sending
still
it to you
not on
originally.
like any links. They don't send me anything. I think they just forgot they hired me.
Maybe. Well, you're getting paid, I think, so that's the good part.
I am getting paid, so that has been nice.
We are up to 11th in the whole
Whoa!
league. And we are 9 subscriptions away from a very big number. Can you guess what that very big number is?
1,000.
Okay, well, you oversold it. 500. But I think the last time that we checked in on this, we were at like 115 or something. So the people are showing up. Please keep showing up. You get great content, great updates, fantasy advice, and you support the show. Best of all, it's free for you. All right, let's dive in.
If you get to 500, they told me that they will start including me on more email chains. So please make it happen for my sake.
Make Ben feel like a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Okay.
Oh, man.
In the spirit of Ben feeling good, it's time for your victory lap. We're here. I kept pumping the brakes. I kept resisting. I said it's not time yet. It's jumping the gun. I'm ready to at least talk through some kind of adjustment for Bradley Beal. And it is for
Sorry.
It is for one very specific reason that we have talked about, but I want to just be clear about what it is. The stopping and starting of adjusting to having him and not having him. It's not that I think he'll be better. It's not that I think, even though we brought up some things about the fit and we can go through those like we were just talking about. Those are all valid. But my main thing here, Ben, is it's wearing thin for this team to have to be in exactly weeks like this one we're recording in right now, where they just have no idea if he's going to play on Thursday night against the Pacers.
I would like to be able to have a show where Bradley Beal is injured. Well, that sounds so bad. I never want anyone to get injured. But where Bradley Beal is injured and we have a game that night or after, and we don't have to talk about it. Because we don't have to say, well, I mean, we could talk about it briefly, but we don't have to be like, starting lineup. What are we going to do here? I don't know. Is this guy going to step in? It is much easier to get guys into the fold when they are coming off the bench. And for me, I just think, yes, Brendon, I think you're absolutely correct. Stopping and starting is something that I'd mentioned over a month ago, I think, where I'm just so over it. I'm so over it, man. I'm so over each and every day not having the same starting lineup in. And when you go up against a team that has a bunch of chemistry like the Rockets or like the Thunder, they will eat you alive with those kind of things being a weak link in your chain. And so the issue is with Bradley Beal is not only do I think he'll just be better coming off the bench in that fold, we also could throw someone else in there that's a little bigger. So I don't know who it is, Ryan Dunn probably, or Royce O'Neal. But then you also
for now
get
probably Royce, right?
Yeah,
maybe
exactly.
By the end of the season, done.
Maybe even Grayson. I don't know. But either way, you do get a little bit bigger and a little bit better defensively. And the biggest thing for me is the ball doesn't stop and stick in Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal's hands. It feels like the offense just moves a lot better. And honestly, man, I think the offense would look better even if not Kevin Durant. God, we know what it looks like when he's out. But if Devin Booker was out for a week and you got to insert Bradley Beal into that, and you just kind of had two stars, I don't think it would look better, but I don't think it would look horrendous like it does when you have all three guys in at times. And I just feel like if you put him in that Sacramento Kings Malik Monk role from last year and let him cook off the bench, but still close games, you can still do that. It's not a rule. You can still not start a guy and play him at the end of the game. I think that's the version of this Suns team that works best for Bradley Beal that I've been hitting this drum on for about a year now. But more so than anything, it's the thing you said. I'm so sick and tired of asking each and every week if Bradley Beal is going to be in the starting lineup. Bring him in whenever he can play, and it's much better also to be able to stagger his games or stagger his minutes because it's not going to affect the chemistry of the starting lineup. Your take.
We will close out with our favorite non-Jimmy Butler trade targets, but let's close on this. I want to wrap up a few different threads of this thing, right? So if you listen to the comments that this team had during the stretch without both Beal and Durant, and even when Durant missed some time again last week and Beal was still in, they did start to sound a little bit defeated by this in a way that kind of concerned me, where, a lot of the things are just, you can hear the guys scratching their own heads about what's going on in real time in these press conferences and in these post-practice media availabilities, where they're like, we're just not really playing a full 48 minutes. We're just kind of, something just isn't clicking. And it's like, well, yeah, because your third best player is always fluctuating. And just that level of certainty, I think, would start to help them mentally, and I think obviously develop the chemistry that you need to develop over 82 games. But to go back to the fit side of it, because I don't want to just say it's about that, I think the fit is important. You asked me in the last segment, like, what would it even ideally look like to get that rim pressure from Beal and still get the best out of Booker and Durant and kind of have this imaginary perfect offense that they want to have. And I think the case would be, right, like, take a lot of how they played last year, but just throw a point guard in there, right? I mean, that's kind of what we talked about all summer. That was the idea. But the problem is Beal, even with an adjustment this year, the adjustment has mostly kind of been that he just has taken less shots. That's been the sacrifice, and that's just not going to maximize him. Whereas in other big threes, Chris Bosh, Ray Allen, Klay Thompson, those guys became off-ball scorers, but were really elite at doing that, right? Bosh became a three-point shooter. He's always going to be a finisher because he's 6'11". Allen and Klay were spot-up guys. Beal's still not that. He's still Bradley Beal. It's just sometimes he'll shoot 7 times in a game instead of 25, right? But that's not really the best thing. So that part of it I'm coming around to too, I guess. So you haven't taken a big enough victory lap here, if I'm being honest.
Well, because
I'm speaking your language. I'm kissing your you-know-what right now.
That's not what I do. I don't take victory laps. Listen, Brendon, I tend to be the Arizona sports certified voice of reason, and it just took time for everyone else to come along. I'm not here to belittle folks. I'm here to help enlighten them. And that's just, 6 months, 7 months ago when the comment section was, or 4 months ago when the comment section was saying, who's this bozo that you started letting on the show? And then a couple of months ago, they're like, hey, I kind of like this guy. He's a little funny. He's kind of handsome. He's good at what he says. All those good things.
I think at first they actually thought that you were forced on me. I think that there was some misunderstanding there. They're like, stop, prevent him from coming on. Like, stop this. Guys, I asked him to.
I'll tend to go check out the premiere and kind of talk with listeners on the show a decent amount. And one time someone asked me, hey man, be real. Does Brendon hate you? And I'm like, I don't know, man, honestly. So
I guess I'll have to hang out in the premiere to answer the question for that.
I just want to feed into it. But no, like ultimately at the end of the day, man, just getting back to the Bradley Beal thing, I just think it's all going to fit a lot smoother. The biggest question is this, and this is what I would feed back to you. 2 things, actually. 1, how much are you buying into this? Or are you still going to give it time? Or are you still going to wait a little bit? And then 2, should we even be talking about this? Because do you think there's any scenario where Beal would take that role? Because star players tend to have this kind of, I don't know what you would call it, pride about being in the starting lineup, which is just a fiction, just nonsense at some point.
Yeah.
So, but
that was my pushback a lot when this idea started getting thrown around. Even like when they first traded for him, honestly, people were kind of starting to say it. And then all the way through last season and up through the offseason and everything else, I've always kind of said like, all right, if you think he should come off the bench, then I'd love to see you be the person to deliver that message. Like, good luck, right? But I just think at this point, like, he kind of just has to see reason a little bit, right? Like, this start hasn't been what they wanted it to be. You've missed time multiple different occasions at this point, and we all know how much pressure is on this group this year. If this is going to work, let's try this. Not to mention you could sell him on, hey, maybe you don't get hurt as much if you're playing a little less, right? So I think you had to let this simmer and try it this year. Maybe it's not like if he does play Thursday, I'm not saying do it then. I don't know what the magic moment is. Maybe you do, but like that, it's time to, I think you can have the conversation without it being disrespectful.
Christmas was my date. Was my date that you got to have that conversation. If we don't have Beal, which I don't think is out of the ordinary, if we don't have Beal on Christmas Day next week, I mean, God forbid we don't have at least 2 of the big 3. But if we don't have Beal, we are then 30 games into the NBA season. We seriously have to make some adjustments. I don't know what it looks like, but we got to make something happen. So that's where I'm at on that. How much are you buying into this, though? You that Ben kid. He's got a couple of sells.
Buying in like, do I believe it, or buying in like, will it happen? Like, does Bud believe it?
No, you believe in it. I know Bud believes in it. I've already talked to him.
I still think that the team needs to be clicking with those 3 guys to be at their best. But as a regular season experiment to try to figure some things out, I believe in it. I guess my caveat would be like, maybe you do it with the intention of by like March or April, you slide him back into the starting lineup.
Okay.
That might be also, kind of the way that I would look at it.
Okay. Sorry, I was laughing a second ago because you said caveat, not caveat, but I thought it was. Sorry.
I've heard it both ways. No?
No one says caveat.
I think people do. We'll see. The comments will tell us.
I was going to let you get away with that. Be like,
I threw a word at you the other day, and I looked it up in real time, and you had no idea what I was talking about. So
yeah, but
who's the word expert
caveat?
Here? Okay. All right. We'll see.
I hope I don't look stupid, but I've never heard anyone say caveat. You meant
The
to say
Athletics,
wow.
Sam Vecini put together an awesome list of basically everybody that is good who could be traded this season. Ben and I will each pick our favorite non-Jimmy Butler trade targets coming up next. First, today's show brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 back in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get that hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. Let's check it out. What are we looking at here? The wonderful world of college basketball. Who are the big favorites on Wednesday? We have LaSalle hosting Fairleigh Dickinson -1,000. That's not amazing, but that's pretty good. Usually it's like, do I recognize the name of the team? And if I don't, then I'm going to bet the favorite and feel pretty good about it. Georgia Tech hosting UMBC. They haven't, mattered since they upset Virginia. UAB -8,000. Those are some tasty ones for you. Get that $5 out there. Bag your $150 in bonus bets, then have some fun. All at FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Today's episode also brought to you by Built Rewards. If you're a renter, listen up. This is a total game changer. Thanks to Built, you can now earn points on rent payments, just like you do with groceries or travel. Paying rent now comes with serious perks, and it's completely free to join. Redeem points for flights, hotel stays, and even future rent payments. With over 500 airlines, 700,000 hotels in their program, the possibilities with Built are endless. I love traveling. I have a few little, family has always had this membership. I pay for this other thing that has some travel perks to it. There's nothing better than when something is just straight up free or discounted and you feel like you didn't even do anything to make it happen. And then all of a sudden your trip is that much better. You can afford it that much easier. So start earning points on rent you're already paying by joining Built at joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. That's joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. Make sure to use our link so they know we sent you. Don't wait. Start earning rewards today. All right, Ben, let's power through this segment a little quicker. We spent a lot of time on the Big 3 versus Big 2 debate. I have an obvious name. It's on Sam Vecini's list at The Athletic, but I frankly, even if for some wild reason he didn't think this guy was getting traded or he didn't value him as much as I did, I still would have picked him. But I'll let you go first. Who is your favorite non-Jimmy Butler? Who's number 1 on this list, by the way, that goes without saying. Aside from him, who's your guy?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's not freaking Zach LaVine who's number 2 on this list. That is insanity.
Denver wants him.
Yeah, okay. I'll believe it when I see it. They didn't want to pay Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, but they want to pay this guy? Yeah. Something tells me, something doesn't smell right. But now I think about it, I guess if you're getting rid of MPJ, I guess that is
that's what it would
there.
be.
But either way. Without a shadow of doubt in my mind, Dorian Finney-Smith. This team needs to get bigger. They need a guy that can shoot, that can continue to shoot the 3 ball. We saw what he's done against the Suns before in the playoffs. Still 31 years old. He's not an older guy, although still has that veteran presence, plays a lot of games. And in this one, it looked like he was saying that it could get done by a couple of second-round picks. So when people put these out, they gauge kind of what's out there, what could be done. So, listen, man, if you could get Dorian Finney-Smith for, I heard this today on a different show, and I sent it to you, but Nurkic and 3 second-round picks, call it in. Oh, my goodness, call that deal in, immediately. And then you're talking about if you pull Beal out of the lineup, you could insert Dorian Finney-Smith in, and then you're kind of big, actually. Well, no use of Nurkic, but you insert Oso Ighodaro or Mason Plumlee in that role, Kevin Durant, maybe get a guy in the buyout market. You get a chance from going from a kind of small team to a sneaky big team, but that's where I would go.
I'm glad you brought him up because we were debating him a little bit over text earlier. Yeah. And he's also on this list right by another player, coincidentally from Brooklyn, which the idea of the Suns and Nets making another trade is kind of funny. But that Warriors trade for Schroeder is pretty interesting. I don't think I said who it was, Dennis Schroeder. And that one was only 3 seconds. Now, and actually 1 second went back. So it was more like 2.5, whatever you want to say. That was lower than I expected for Schroeder. And if we're kind of assuming guys that are bunched together in this ranking would go for similar amounts, I mean, duh. I don't think it's crazy. But the problem is the Warriors sent out basically, expiring money. The Suns getting off of Nurkic is where things do get a little bit of dicey. It's
not It's not a terrible contract though. You can get rid of that. It's partially guaranteed next year. It's not insane.
Yeah, and it's shorter than it's shorter than what Dorian Finney-Smith I think is actually on contract wise. Or
although I agree with you, D'Anthony Melton was a better deal to get off of for sure.
Yeah, because it's just gone, right? But. So that's interesting. I like Finney-Smith. I think he is more the size that I care about more with him is that he's ripped more so than that he's tall. Because he's not that tall. Like 6'7" is but like I don't know. In a league where Jason Tatum you're gonna go through and like Jalen Williams. I think Jalen Williams is also 6'7", but he's not huge. I like that he's strong. That would be appealing to me because the Suns don't really have anybody like that. Royce is not really like that so much. Beal, I don't know if he'll be on the team in these kind of conversations, but he is, but not an elite level. Finney-Smith provides that. So if I'm going against Luka or Shea, the physicality that those guys bring, I like Finney-Smith for that reason.
Let me start a debate in the comment section really quickly. Would you do Grayson Allen for Dorian Finney-Smith straight up? I know your answer, but I just want you to say it.
The more that I thought about it, I do think I think I kind of said maybe to you, and I'm leaning more toward yes than no. The more that I think about it, because Finney-Smith is shooting 45% from three this year. Even if he's on fire, streaky. I'll take a streaky season, right? Like he had kind of topped out at 39-40 in Dallas. He's going to be getting wide open shots again if he comes to Phoenix rather than with the crappy Nets team he's playing on. So if the shooting's not super different.
And we saw that Royce O'Neal connection to Phoenix, that Brooklyn Phoenix connection. He's hitting the three ball pretty well. So who knows? Maybe he wants to come play. We're just going to become the Phoenix Nets at this point.
I know. That's what's hilarious about it between KD and obviously Royce now and the guys
potentially
back,
Finney.
Cam Johnson still, whatever. Mine is Robert Williams.
God, I knew you were going to say that. Continue.
So it kind of comes back to, first of all, like here's how people should be thinking about this. The best sell I can make. He's just better, more experienced Oso Ighodaro. Right? I mean, all the reasons we've gotten excited about Oso, except that he's like, honestly, you could tell me he's like twice as athletic because this dude is an absolute freak. And he is like per minute. He's like Jonathan Isaac level in terms of like he can't really play heavy minutes because of the injuries, but when he is out there, he's one of the biggest defensive difference makers in the entire league. And he plays center, and he could fill a lot of that rim pressure problem we talked about with the Beal and Durant and Booker conversation. He's a great offensive rebounder, a lot of the things that the Suns just don't have. So the injury risk, the contract is small, so that helps, but the injury risk is obvious. To me, it's just, if you could do it for a protected 2031 pick or all three of the second round picks, especially if you're getting off of Nurkic, but even if you're not getting off of Nurkic, something in that mold I would do.
This might sound casual. Can you do that can you get rid of Josh Okogie for him?
No, he makes too much
money. So it would have to be, that's what I'm saying. So it would have to be Nurkic, and then you'd probably have to get
it could be Allen too, right? But like,
yeah, but I'm not giving up Allen for Robert Williams. I would.
If it was just the seconds, would you?
No, No, absolutely not.
Williams makes 12.4 million, so he makes more than Royce and more than Okogie, and he's only under contract for one more season after this at 13.2 million.
I would do Nurkic and a protected first-round pick. Top 10 protected. Yes, I would do that.
I would do Allen in the seconds.
God, no. God, no. This guy has played 6 games last year, 8 games this year, 35 games with the Celtics in his final year, 61 the year before that. No, God, no. I've got enough injury-prone guys on my team. I'm good. I'm so good. Other than that, I agree with you. He would fit in so well with this. I think he's listed here. Yeah, best fit. One of his best fits would be on the Suns. He'd fit in great here.
I didn't even see that.
And he'd be a defensive stopper. He'd be like everything the Suns need. The problem is, I don't think he'd ever be here. Now, with use of Nurkic, you could be like, dude gets injured a lot too. So you're just making that swap there.
Yeah, let me just say, like, of course I'm more open to it if it's Nurkic. The idea of Nurkic going back to Portland is kind of hilarious, but it is funny. Especially for a guy who was also kind of tangentially, he was part of the Lillard trade because he came back for Drew with Boston. So that just being kind of reversed would be hilarious, but I just think he fills so much of what they need.
What would you protect the pick?
If I had to do the first with Nurkic,
you'd
10,
have to do the
10
first.
or lottery, something like that. Yeah.
I'd probably just do 10. I don't care if it's not a top 10 pick. So, I mean, I guess lottery, what is that, 14? Yeah, they probably wouldn't do that. It'd probably be top 10. I do a top 10 protected pick in use of Nurkic. I mean, it's basically a wash there, and they get a lottery ticket.
So Josh Okogie's on this list.
I saw that. I saw that.
He's ahead of Ayton, Grant, both, which felt crazy to me. But I will say, looking at these names, I was like, okay, maybe the trade market's not so barren. Maybe I can get excited about this. Yeah, but there's like 24 names on here that I think would make the Suns better. 24 is a lot. If you tell me they get one of those 24 that fits well, okay, I could be.
You're not ready for Ben Simmons buyout Ben Simmons on the Phoenix Suns.
Lonzo Ball buyout is what I'm looking for. That's what I'm ready
I think he makes too much. I've already tried to be
bought out. Oh, because he can't. Well, then Ben Simmons does too. Yeah, I forgot about that rule. Ben Simmons
has a weird loophole in it that I found out that he can play for the Suns. Maybe that was another person. But Lonzo Ball definitely can't because Gerald Bourguet joined me one time on Fox Sports 910 and made me look like a fool on the air when I was like, well, what about Lonzo? Is that something? He's like, yeah, that doesn't work. And I was like,
that is awesome. One of the second apron rules that I always forget about, that they cannot sign a player on a buyout who makes more than the mid-level, which is bizarre.
Okay, so Ben Simmons
random.
Can't. Ben Simmons can't. Son of a gun. Well, maybe the year after.
There we go. That will wrap us up. Hit follow, subscribe if you haven't already. Become an everydayer. We got more content for you. One more show before the Suns' next game. Try to link up with somebody at PHNX. I'm just throwing that. I'm willing it into existence. We'll see if they're available. In the meantime, enjoy your Wednesday, and we will talk to you tomorrow.